of the mainstream media.
Just download the iHeart app and you'll have all of us right at your fingertips.
Scan the QR code and start streaming Rav anywhere you want.
Real America's Voice, available whenever you need us.
It's never been easier to stay connected with the voices you trust.
Rav on iHeart means you can take us with you wherever you go.
This is huge. The Truth on iHeart. Ready whenever you are.
From Charlie Kirk to Steve Bannon, Jack Posobiec to Grant Stinchfield, you'll find all your favorite Rav hosts in one place.
You can listen on Spotify, Apple, Pandora, or Amazon. Rav is now available everywhere you get your podcasts. All you need to do is scan the QR code right now.
Download the iHeart app today and get ready for Real America's Voice.
Scan the QR code and join the Rav movement.
President Trump became the first sitting president to attend the Daytona 500 twice. We have the details coming up.
And 3 artists come together to collaborate on a song determined to make America colorblind after the left has divided us with racial politics.
And another singer-songwriter tackles the difficult topic of alcohol abuse and its effects on relationships. Mackenzie Phipps joins us to share her song, Love Me Sober. All of that and so much more right now on Special Report.
Welcome into Special Report. I'm Michelle Backus alongside Beau, Davidson, and Emily Finn. We want to get right to some breaking news out of Toronto, Canada today. In a developing report, Delta Airlines plane has crashed. There was a crash. It landed upside down at Toronto Pearson International Airport. Now, the plane was coming from Minneapolis, Minnesota. All passengers and crew are accounted for as of now. Again, these are early reports. We're still continuing to follow this. And again, the cause of the crash is unknown. You can see those pictures right there. That plane upside down there in Toronto. You can see snow covering the ground. Again, still waiting for a report on exactly how this could have happened. Everyone has been accounted for, and we are still trying to find out the rest of those details. Make sure to stick with us while we figure that out. In other news, it has been another busy few days for DOGE, or the Department of Government Efficiency.
That's right. In an X post, they revealed that they slashed a whopping $370 million in taxpayer dollars being spent on diversity, equity, and inclusion at the Department of Education. According to DOGE, the newly slashed grants were huge in number.
Also happening over the weekend, President Trump became the first sitting president to attend the Daytona 500 twice. He was joined by some of his family and even brought his granddaughter on the track with him.
I'm joined now by the President of the United States. Mr. President, 5 years ago, we were standing in this very spot. What brings you back to the great American race?
Well, I think it's fantastic. It's great for the country. Our country is doing well again, and we have spirit all over the world. There's spirit again. We brought it back, and it's been less than 4 weeks. So you'll see what we do in a little period of time. It's going to only get better, but this is very exciting.
You brought your granddaughter. I know some of your other family members are here. You get to take a ride around in the Beast. What is that like?
I'll let you know in about 2 minutes, because they're going to be going quite quickly, I understand.
And I think it's worth noting here, Beau, Trump brought his granddaughter to the Daytona 500. Joe Biden is still yet to acknowledge his granddaughter.
Yeah, that's true. And I got to say, as someone who has sung for NASCAR before and gone a few laps around the track at pace speed, it is exhilarating. It is fun. If you ever get the chance to do it with the NASCAR experience, you should do it, because it's pretty amazing. Air Force One did fly over the track, and the message was clear. We are so back. And as Trump drove by, the crowd chanted, "Let's go, Brandon." You've heard that before. For more on that, let's welcome in James Catoulis, founder of the Let's Go Brandon crypto coin, who famously trolled NASCAR 3 years ago flying the Let's Go Brandon ad across the track. James, so I got to get your reaction to seeing Trump back in Daytona yesterday.
Well, it's kind of a difficult situation for us, right? Let's Go Brandon coin was Trump's first crypto. He came in March 2022 with Don Jr. a couple months after NASCAR had approved us to be the lead sponsor for Brandon Brown's NASCAR. That was supposed to run at Daytona in 2022. NASCAR then rescinded the sponsorship approval, proceeded to libel us to about 27 national media outlets, say we lied about the approval, made it up. So they destroyed about $500 million in value for 11,000 loyal NASCAR conservative fans. So, we've got a $5 billion lawsuit pending down here in Miami, set to go to trial in June against NASCAR. So, you could tell they're being opportunistic and that they were very anti-Trump, Let's Go Brandon a couple years ago. Now he's back in power and, they're pretending to be patriotic.
So you're suing NASCAR, and where do you ultimately envision this going in the next, I would say even 5 years? What kind of precedent do you think this is going to set moving forward?
Yeah, look, we've broken a lot of precedent with Let's Go Brandon coin, right? We were very public against vax mandates, mask mandates, anti-social media deplatforming several months before Elon really got involved in those issues and, with buying X. We've got Dr. Robert Malone as holders, a lot of those other doctors who were very early knowing that the COVID vaccines actually had negative efficacy and high risk of side effects, right? So, we were cutting edge there. Assuming we beat NASCAR, hopefully we return to be the number one political meme coin, and we could go out and do more advocacy, support Elon's efforts at DOGE, helping combat a lot of this graft and corruption that the Dems have done through USAID and other avenues.
Well, James, switching gears here, but not really too much. The crypto world is only growing under this pro-Trump administration. Where do you see the future of crypto going? It's still, I'll admit, foreign to me. To a lot of people, I know it's not. But I always ask for someone when we have a guest on that's explaining it to just put it in layman's terms and tell me, what am I missing out on and what's the future going to be like?
Yeah, so one of the big problems in crypto historically had been the lack of any kind of statutes and regulations that give people a clear framework how to legally comply with laws and build real functional projects. So because of this, all these meme coins proliferated, right? Like Doge was the first way back in 2010. You just saw Trump coin announced while we were at the crypto ball. Again, thanks for the heads up, DJT, but we still love you. Right. But,
you know how many people said that to me, by the way?
A lot, I bet, a lot. It was almost like a mafia hit. He put us all in the same place, and it's like, hey, we're going to launch this without you. But in all seriousness, we were one meme coin and that have, I think, done meaningful things in terms of our advocacy, our charitable giving, our support of Turning Point and other conservative organizations like that. But hopefully under Trump, we're going to see an end to all this unconstitutional regulation by enforcement that's been done by my nemesis, Gary Gensler, who I've successfully sued for about 14 years now, and see things like real security tokens that you can actually register with the SEC that have proper disclosure requirements and internal controls and transparency. So that's really been missing. And every jurisdiction other than the U.S. has those laws and those regs. So Paul Atkins is pegged to be the next SEC chair. He's very pro-crypto. Brian Quintes, who I think you met at the crypto ball, he was a former commodity trader, CFTC commissioner, and Andreessen Horowitz, and is very pro-crypto. So with this pro-crypto leadership, we hope to see investor protections and real regulation.
Going back to that lawsuit with NASCAR and your own meme coin here, why did NASCAR ultimately switch gears here and flip the script going against you guys?
Yeah, I think they really just caved to pressure from the woke left. They ignored the fact that about 85% of their fans are conservative. Everything was done properly. They issued an in-writing sponsorship approval. It was very clear the sponsors are approved. But then they made a lot of malicious statements. I mean, most famously, when USA Today called them, one of their communications officers asked, "What should we do with USA Today?" And the answer was, quote, "Add them to the libel list." Like, they literally consciously and discussed libeling us. And again, there's 11,000 fans there. They destroyed 380 million of value in a single day, about 500 million in 3 weeks. And, we haven't forgotten about that. Our fan base is still, deeply angry at NASCAR and very much looking forward to trial, hopefully this summer in June down in Miami.
James, what's your sense that just in a bigger picture with respect to professional sports and the way that fans and brands interact, and especially the leadership? Because you're talking about NASCAR, but let's talk about the NFL for a second. Apparently there was no in-racism that was in the end zones for the Super Bowl.
Choose love.
Exactly. Choose love. So is there a changing attitude, do you think, where conservative fans, which is a large part of the sports fan base, are going to be at least not attacked so much, do you think? Do you think we'll see a turning of the tide now that Trump is president again?
Well, you're seeing it, right? Like the NASCAR, the France family that owns NASCAR is deeply liberal, right? We're deeply combative against their own conservative fans during the Biden administration. And, as we see more of this fraud being unveiled at USAID, I really think the two are intertwined, right? Like, who's benefiting from all these DEI initiatives with billions of dollars coming from, the U.S. government to support these initiatives, right? So even if you are conservative, even if you believe in conservative politics under Biden, it looked to be deeply profitable to go along with this DEI agenda and attacking conservatives. Well, now that's slush fund is getting shut off, by Elon and the DOGE crew. Trump is obviously very anti, DEI, and you're seeing how popular he is now. Like when I went to the inauguration back in 2017, it was like you're a secret society if you like Trump, right? You still couldn't vocalize it. Now, after surviving the assassination attempt, after really trolling Kamala effectively with pop culture, things like the McDonald's appearance, the driving the garbage truck. Trump's now cool. Somehow he's almost 80 years old. He's cool. He's hanging out with his 18-year-old cool college kid who's, a crypto degen and stuff, right? So, I think that his cult of personality has finally, infected all these big organizations that had been on the take from the USAIDs of the world and, all this DEI slush fund money. So I think we're going to see a lot more of this.
And Bezos and Zuckerberg, too, are two people that have completely flipped their script as well.
Which we didn't forget where they came from.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
James, thanks so much for being with us today. We appreciate you, sir.
Thanks for having us. Let's go, Brandon.
And coming up, there's a battle at the border that President Trump, Tom Homan, and ICE are winning. More on that when we return. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Special Report. The Trump administration has been hard at work cracking down on immigration, and there has already been a significant impact at our southern border. The daily average number of known gotaways is down 93% since the highest numbers when President Biden was in office.
For discussion, we want to welcome in our next guest, David Scarlett, a former U.S. Marine, the chairman and founder of His Glory Ministries, a Christian outreach organization, and the creator of the film Battle at the Border. David, thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, David, are these numbers just an example of how President Trump's policies are actually working and right away?
Yes, exactly. Having authority and taking control of it and showing urgency. This was a national security nightmare, as we saw in our movie Battle at the Border. I spent some time with Sheriff Lamb and Sheriff Daniels at the border. It was far worse than the American people could ever have dreamt, with fentanyl and terrorists and human trafficking coming into our country. And Tom Homan's leadership is changing that, and not a moment too soon.
Absolutely. And he's really been attacking this with a bunch of different policies. On day one, signed those executive orders. They're doing deportation operations. They're trying to send military to the border. There's a lot going on here. What do you think has been the most effective so far?
I think exactly what you just said, a combination of all things. You got to hit quickly, hit hard, and keep right on hitting. You got to do all the above, making the cartel a terrorist organization, shutting down the border, putting urgency to follow the money. Now we see that there was NGOs that were funding this human trafficking right before our very eyes, paid for with taxpayer dollars. We see that there was religious organizations. You'll see that in our documentary. We caught them right on video bragging about how the federal government cuts them a check so that they could traffic people throughout the United States of America.
David, your new film, Battle at the Border, An Invasion of Epic Proportion, takes a deep dive into the tragedies law enforcement agencies face every day at our southern border. We want to play a quick clip of that.
In the sacred mission of shining a light on the border crisis, we illuminate not only our nation, but the world with His glory. As stewards of sovereignty, we heed the call to ensure justice flows within our borders. The power to enact change rests within the hands of those in authority. Yet executive orders remain dormant and accountability seems elusive. The alarming incidence of violence against law enforcement further underscores the urgent need for decisive action.
Well, this looks like a very powerful film. Why don't you tell us more about it and what you learned and what you want viewers to find out about this film?
Well, what we learned is that the fake news has been lying to us for a long time, and they've been covering up, saying that there's not a crisis at the border. It's not about humans. This is just people trying to come in to get a better life. That's a small part of it. We saw what was heartbreaking to me is to see young children that were drugged up to get across the border by cartel. And I would say 60% of the children that we ran across did not match to the people that they were with. And when Joe Biden took away the DNA matching up to the families, that just opened up the door for more human trafficking, and it's absolutely a mess. But to see the horror on these kids' faces, what these kids have gone through, and knowing that they're not with their biological parents or relatives, and they're just being trafficked throughout the United States, is heart-wrenching.
Absolutely. Now, I want to get your take on this. President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, I know you brought him up earlier in our conversation. He said that he's not satisfied with how the operations have been going so far. In a recent interview, he said that there are still hundreds of criminal aliens that need to be arrested in the United States. I know that getting all of those children, those hundreds of thousands of missing children in the United States that we know are subjected to trafficking situations, that also is a main focus. Do you think Homan's being a little hard on himself here? I mean, to not be satisfied, they've already accomplished a lot in just a few weeks.
Yeah, I think Tom Homan is telling you the truth. He's a straight shooter. He's done a really good job, but there's more to be had. We had J.J. Carroll on His Glory TV the other day, and he's saying that there are terrorists out there. We know where they're at. Military age people that want to do us harm. We know where they are, and we're not stepping up quick enough to get them out. And he recommended the military to go in and get these people out of our country as soon as possible, because it's a ticking time bomb. We've known from threats through the Middle East that they may use a 9/11 type style, and they're still in the United States of America. So I agree, Tom. We do need to do more. Go after these targets that can hurt America first. We know where they're at. Let's go all in and get it done.
And Homan also made some headlines for pushing back on Pope Francis's recent remarks about the immigration crackdown in the United States, saying that he should focus instead on fixing the Catholic Church. As someone who founded a Christian outreach, what was your reaction to the Pope's recent remarks?
Yeah, it's appalling. The Pope has to pick up his Bible, I think, and reread it. We see politicians that always try to throw the Bible and change the Bible for their narrative. And the truth of the matter in the Torah, which is to Christians, the Old Testament, you can be an illegal alien and come into the land, but you have to do it lawful under the law of Moses. And you've got to recognize who the true God is, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So there's laws, there's a process, exactly the way the United States of America needs to do it for our protection, because for every 2 people that come in that are good, there's another 10 that want to do us harm through fentanyl, trafficking, or to kill us.
Yeah, absolutely. David, I think this is a good segue. I'm so excited to ask you about your book, All for His Glory, the near-death experience of a modern-day job, where you talk about your experience going to heaven. I mean, my gosh, that's not something that everybody can say. Tell us all of it. Give us all the details. And where can our viewers buy your book?
You can get All for His Glory at either on Amazon, but we prefer to go to hisglory.me to go directly through us. I was a Marine, and then I was a director of 3 Fortune 100 companies, had all the fame, fortune, money, and then I had experience where I got botulism toxin, died 3 times, went to heaven, saw the glory of God, and it changed everything. He sent me back to start a ministry by His name, His Glory, and now we reach 25 million people in every country of the world, and it's truly what we do for Him is always only matters. Because I had the fame, I had the fortune, I had the money, I had it all, but it was empty. And it's only what we do for Him that matters. And that's why He sent me back to start a ministry called His name.
David, your experience is not unlike someone else I know. And so I was just curious, when you see the glory of God like that, some people would say, well, get rid of earth and let me join. I mean, that's probably how I would be feeling. But it sounds like God still had another purpose for you on this unfortunate, sometimes desolate earth that we have. So I take it that you're okay with being here for whatever time you have remaining to do His work.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of death. I've seen death. I've seen heaven. Heaven is absolutely glorious. But my report, one of the things I found when I went to heaven, I got to heaven by the skin of my teeth. My report card was empty. So He sent me back. So the next time I go to heaven, my report card is not going to be empty, and it's going to be what I do for Him that matters. And that what matters most to us at His Glory is to reach 1 billion souls for His namesake. And that's what our mission is, 1 billion souls, and we can do it. And it's only what we do for Him that matters.
1 billion souls, that's an absolutely attainable goal in today's age. So thank you so much, David, for your work and for glorifying God. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Coming up,
Blessing.
3 artists join us in studio to talk about their new song to unite America called Colorblind. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Special Report. Identity politics and tones of racism have been used by the left to divide us. You don't have to think back that far to remember the BLM riots and how politicians used that as fodder to create a racial divide. It was even manifest in the end zones of NFL stadiums. But one trio of musicians wants to do the opposite of what the left has done and remind us that we are all one people and one great nation. Singer-songwriter Chris Darlington teamed up with the artist, the Marine rapper, and King Bullethead to create the song Colorblind, which aims to reverse racial politics and divides. We are lucky to have all three of these artists in studio with us today. Welcome, gentlemen.
How you doing?
Well, Chris, I want to start out with you because you've been on our show before, and I mentioned that you wrote Colorblind with the backdrop of the divisiveness that we saw the left have, especially over the past 4 years, and that plagued us. Was there any specific moment where you said, okay, I have seen enough, enough is enough, I'm putting pen to paper, I'm going to use my artistry and put this into song?
Absolutely. I think with me, I think since 2020 probably, I felt like that. I felt like we needed a song to fire back at the left, to unite people like ourselves, and I think that this collaboration is going to do well for the American people because we're all one, right?
And how did you find these two gentlemen?
Real quick. So my buddy Ken Nuss hooked me up on some events. So we had a performance at Mar-a-Lago in December the 10th for the American Futures event that they hosted. I sang a song called Still Standing. With that was a collaboration with another rapper. However, that rapper couldn't show up for the performance.
Okay.
I knew Sean was going to be there, and I knew he rapped. So I asked him if he would step in and do the rap to that song. So he did, and it turned out phenomenal. With that said, the night before we were eating dinner, and we were talking about a possible collaboration in the future. He said, well, come up with a hook, and I think by the end of that night, I said, how about Colorblind? Because he mentioned that he was going to invite the Marine rapper in with us. And that was December the 9th.
Okay. Well, isn't that great how that's just how music happens, as you know, especially in the Nashville scene. It just kind of happens naturally and organically, which I think is awesome. So you called on these two guys to work with you on this, and the sentiment behind it was, let's reverse the racism and racial identity politics that we've seen for the past 4 years. And that's where the spirit of the song is?
Correct.
All right. And TMR, which stands for the Marine Rapper for short, you're a Marine combat veteran and even a war correspondent, which I'm fascinated with. You have a slew of military accolades and military commendations, including the Department of Defense Thomas Jefferson Award, which is the highest award for military journalism. That's to be commended. What elements of your military experience make you the man that you are today?
Well, thank you for having us, first of all, and then second of all, it's all the elements. I learned from all my drill instructors, my sergeants, the discipline portion, as well as the physical fitness, as well as the being on time, and just going after your goals and getting whatever you want to go get. So I combine all those elements as well as the journalism and the storytelling. So all I did was transfer the skills I learned as being a storyteller in war over to my music, and all of my songs are real stories. So that's what had a lot of other people really relate to it, because they know they're all real stories from war, because I have individuals who are alive today who saw that, who went through those situations. So I wanted to just kind of keep telling the story of those brave men and women out there on the front lines, but do it in a musical way. So I use all of it.
Were you a musician always to begin with, would you say?
No, I actually was an artist. I wanted to be an animator.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to be a cartoonist, but I just started being really good at battle rapping and stuff like that, and so I just transferred my skills to that.
Well, ultimately, we artists, it's always about the song. It's always about the story that's behind the song, and you mentioned storytelling. So you were a Marine journalist, basically. You already had that background, and what was it that made you decide, I'm going to take this level of storytelling to a level of artistry that I haven't seen yet in my own personal development? What made you do that?
It was meeting a lot of famous people. One of them was Ice-T. Ice-T is an Army veteran. I met Ice-T, and I said, hey, if a young kid wants to make it in the rap industry, how do they do it? He says, just be real and tell your story, be a storyteller. And for another veteran to tell me all I have to do is be a storyteller, especially an individual who's very successful in many different areas of media, I was excited. And then I was like, okay, let me just talk about my military stories. And that's how I did it. I just transferred the skills over.
Yeah, they say write what you know, right?
Correct.
So what's true to you. And tell me, TMR, when you look at the state of the military today, at least under this change of administration, do you feel there's more optimism? Are you seeing a better picture than perhaps you saw in the past 4 years? What are you seeing?
Absolutely. It's gotten back to what I knew like before 2008. Now it's right on track. Everybody's excited, especially hearing Pete Hegseth say lethal, lethal, lethal. I've talked to so many people across America. I've been to all the rallies, all the Trump rallies, so many just black, brown, white, purple. It doesn't matter what color they are, but they want a strong military. They want strong young men and women to protect their borders and overseas. They want to have that security, and they want to rest at night thinking about that. And if they don't have that, that's what makes them nervous and paranoid and stuff like that. So I know because I talked to a whole bunch of individuals, and I still have peers that are in the military, that they are very excited and they're very eager to keep on fighting for President Trump.
And peace through strength, I suppose, too.
Correct.
Well, Pastor Sean Moon, you go by the name King Bullethead. That's your rapper name, and you're a Christian conservative pastor and rapper using your platform to spread the gospel, which I think is a very noble mission. How did you go from, I got to ask the same question I have with these other gentlemen, how did you go from being a pastor to a rapper?
I think it's just something that God, called me to do. Just use that platform to be able to preach and teach in a more modern format that could appeal to folks, etc. Growing up in a family, my father was from North Korea, was freed by the U.S. troops. He was in a death camp for 2 years and 8 months. That's his number in the North Korean death camp. And for us growing up, he always taught us about the dangers of communism. So growing up in the States, we were always very wary of the left encroaching and putting forms of communism, Marxism into the education curricula or social media, culture in general. And always knew we had to fight against that. He called it political Satanism. We had to fight it. It's not something you could just stand back and watch.
Pastor, do you think that we've become, especially younger generations, more complacent today in not understanding the actual dangers of communism and what it can do? Obviously, what happened to your father?
Yes, absolutely. It's a totalitarian tiptoe, as they talk about, and they take over all the institutions of power. President Trump is a godsend. Our whole community all around the world was praying for him, and he is turning things around in a mighty fashion. God is using him in such a tremendous way, and so we are putting a hedge of protection upon him with prayer on a daily, and we are just so grateful that he is helping us get America back.
What did you guys think when you saw that first assassination attempt? Because he says it over and over again that this was God sparing his life, and I think many of us have had sometimes even near-death experiences. So what was your reaction when you saw that? Because it was almost unbelievable in the moment, but truly it feels like God has destined him for something bigger, probably what he's doing right now, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I met Marine Rapper at the Butler Return rally. Yeah. And we have a big Trump truck, and we're kind of the crazy Asians for Trump. We got the big Trump, we got all the flags and everything. And he just ran up on us, and we were like talking, but it was surreal. It was just, everybody was praying. I could understand. It didn't matter what denomination you're from. God's hand was in this and saved President Trump. So it was just an incredible.
And Chris, I'll start with you. I'd like for you to go to part of the song of Colorblind. Pick, if you can, one lyric that you have that you would say was personal to you that you really want people to get from this song. I'd like for each of you to do that, if you could. And whoever wants to start can.
I think with me, and to stay on that topic, in God we trust. Because without God, the nation falls. And I think if we stick as Americans in God we trust, everything will remain up top.
Absolutely. Timor?
My favorite line is overseas, but we didn't see color. Because all we cared about if our brother or sister to our left and right could shoot and protect each other, and that's all we cared about. And it's also a double entendre. Sea is blue, and we didn't see color. So that's my favorite. It was just like we had each other's back regardless.
John?
For me, probably the beginning of the verse says, "Melanin got a synonym in idolatry." Since a synonym, there's no sin in him. And so it's get back to Christ, like Galatians says, in Christ there is no Jew nor Gentile, neither free nor slave, neither male nor female, all are one in Christ Jesus. And it's about getting back to God and that root that found in America.
So interesting, we're sitting here of all races and probably the same religion, of course, but how do we overcome the racial divide that's in this country? Because you guys have decided to do it through artistry, which is the most noblest form, I think, of expression. But at these Trump rallies that you've been to, that you've performed for Mar-a-Lago, did you encounter racism? Did you see any of this split that they claim so often?
Well, I didn't see any. They said that there's so much racism. I was pretty much one of the minorities there, and I was welcomed with open arms. Yeah. Then let's take New York, for example. I was welcomed with open arm at that rally. Yeah. But when I went across the street to the 100 people who protested because nobody actually was going to vote for the other side, it was a whole bunch of hatred over there. But I was welcomed with open arms on the other side. So all of it's a lie. But what I would say to anybody out there who's trying to decide whether there's racism in America, as much as the liberals are saying, go out, go to the grocery store, go to a theme park, go to a fast food restaurant, and just say hi to someone who's different than you, and see the response you get. It's going to be a smile, and they're going to be, oh wow, I can't believe you thought about me. It won't matter what color they are. So I just implore a lot of individuals to get out there and go meet people.
Yeah, Sean?
Amen. I mean, for us, it was just the Trump rallies were tremendous. Everybody gets so much love. Even the left would call us, white supremacists. They would call us white supremacists. It's ironic. That's Nazis,
joke, yeah.
all this kind of stuff. And but it was just so ridiculous because they were the ones that spin out the hate. When you go near them, they die. They're really terrible epithets thrown upon you.
Right.
But on the Trump side, everybody was together and everybody was standing for freedom and liberty and God's gifts of freedom.
Chris, real quick, when does the song come out?
So the song is going to drop February 28th, which is
Friday.
February 28th. Where can we get it?
You can get it any platform, whether it's iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, or any place you get your music.
We'll be watching out for it. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Alcohol Awareness Month is coming up in April, and one singer-songwriter tells us how alcohol abuse affects everyone in new song. We'll be right back.
Started with the 555 challenge earlier this year. You guys were awesome. You showed us results, testimonies. We checked the science. So we just wanted to make sure that we're going to stay healthy and be able to keep up with the 4 grandkids that are, very much an active part of our lives. So when we started the 555 challenge, we saw some results. We said, let's go for the next step. And now we are enjoying it together. Some awesome mornings together as we walk and talk and just enjoying the whole process.
We wanted to do something that would slow down the aging process. and just something that we could, for the rest of our lives, just implement.
I know what the best is yet to come, but right now the Pucciarelli is shrinking, and I'm saying bye-bye slowly but surely. My energy's up, circulation's better, skin's looking better, my digestion's better, and overall just enjoying feeling healthier.
I love that you guys are being preventative, right? So like you didn't have any major health concerns or conditions, but you're preventing anything major from coming. So I just really want to honor you guys for that.
Well, welcome back to Special Report. It is February. Have you kept your fitness and health goal resolutions you made on New Year's Eve? Probably not.
I have not, actually.
I know it is hard, and our next guest says staying in good health all year long can be achieved. So let's welcome in our good friends, the founder of Energized Health, John Jubilee. Hey, John, welcome back.
Well, thank you so much. Honored to be here.
Absolutely. Well, most people who made those New Year's resolutions back in January have already failed. I think Michelle and I are probably two of those. Around 80% of them quit by March, and March isn't even here yet. So, John, why does good health seem like such a difficult goal? What are we missing?
Well, what we're missing, Beau, is something that actually works. So first of all, I just want to validate people for quitting. The reason people quit things is because it didn't work. And so, of course, they want to quit. But the great thing, just like you heard, when we do something as simple as 5 days together with you, you will know, oh, my word, I just lost 5 pounds of fat, not water, but fat. I lost 5 pounds of fat in 5 days for $5. This actually works. And that's why a lot of people choose to take that next step and join our lifetime program. And I can say it's been 28 years for me. I did this in 1997. I've been the same size since 1997. I haven't had a day of sickness since 1997. And you, more importantly, you can have that. And your health can be the best it's ever been. And this could be the last program you ever do.
Well, John, is this typically a form of self-sabotage, or is there a better way to pursue health for the long term through your program?
Well, that's really a great question because, look, when people ask me, well, what diet works? I say, well, if you're going to ask me about what diet works, every diet works for a minute. But life is a lot longer than a minute. How long can you eat that cabbage soup? How long could you go on a fast? How long could you just eat protein? None of those diets are sustainable. And that's why, we never teach a diet. It starts with DIE. I'd rather die than go on a diet. That's what I tell people. So I recommend, and we recommend for you to have your best health. If you want to have your best health, you need a sustainable program that is science-backed with a patent-pending science. This is science, guys. Your metabolism's not broken. It's just dehydrated. You don't have health at the cellular level. That's the missing key. And when you get healthy at the cellular level, your metabolism is reset to like a 17-year-old. Remember when you were 17? Beau, what could you eat at 17 years old?
Anything.
Anything and everything. Calories didn't count.
And John, I want to ask you this real quick. We only got about 30, 40 seconds left, but is there an element of sacrifice to this program? Because you think about the food restrictive diets, exercise, all this stuff. There's always an element of sacrifice for personal gain. It sounds like your program has something that's more sustainable without a ton of sacrifice. Am I right in that?
No, it really is. The only thing you're not going to eat is sugar and white flour. That's the only thing you're going to give up, but you won't even crave it. So guys, I want to encourage you, if you want to have your best health, it's my555challenge.com, my555challenge.com. You don't have to sacrifice, no running, no sit-ups, no heavy breathing, and you can be healthy. You can be healthy for the rest of your life.
John Jubilee, as always, it's a pleasure to have you on. Thanks so much for being with us.
I'm honored. Thank you, guys.
Of course. Well, coming up, alcohol abuse continues to plague Americans, and one singer and songwriter has turned her personal story into a new song. Mackenzie Phipps joins us when we return.
the news from economists forecasting a depression, not a recession, a depression by the year 2030. We are in a perfect storm as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point, with the largest generation hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. Pair that with our growing national debt and rising cost of living, and we've got a big problem. So what are you doing now to protect your family for the future? Gold is a safe haven in hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold.
Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text America to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold and a copy of The Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era, with foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There is no obligation, only information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. You can count on them too. Text America to the number 989898 today.
Says I wish I was your bourbon glass. I'd be close to your fingertips. And I wish I was a cigarette, 'cause I'd be finally near your lips. We've cussed and fought for so damn long, there's no saving what's over. I just never understood how hard it was for you to love me sober.
And welcome back to Special Report. Alcohol abuse is something that plagues many Americans, and some of the collateral damage is what alcohol abuse does to relationships. It affects family, friends, colleagues, children, spouses, and essentially everyone that is in proximity to the abuser.
Between 2015 and 2019, excessive use of alcohol was a major contributor to preventable deaths in the United States, accounting for approximately 178,000 deaths annually. One singer-songwriter has used her art to capture the personal side of this issue with the single you just saw called Love Me Sober. Welcome to the show, Mackenzie Phipps.
Hi.
Hi, Mackenzie. Well, I first of all want to salute you and admire you for taking on this difficult subject matter. I was reflecting back to my days in Nashville and the song Whiskey Lullaby by Brad Paisley, which I'm sure you know, where the abuse leads to death. Tell us the circumstances that led to you writing this important song.
Yeah, so as a songwriter, especially moving to Nashville here in June, it'll be 2 years that I've been in Nashville. I've gotten a lot more into songwriting and figuring out who I am as an artist. And I really love writing about topics that hit home to some people. And that's kind of where I came up with Love Me Sober. Whenever songs come to me, they just come out of nowhere in my head, and I start writing them on paper and I start getting the melody to it. And when I came up with Love Me Sober, of course, the storyline is talking about a couple that have been together a while, and unfortunately the man suffers from alcoholism, and the girl hopes that one day he changes, but he just isn't at that point in his life where he wants to make a change happen. So she ultimately decides that she leaves in hopes of him bettering himself in the future. And that's kind of where the song came together was, you fought for so long and you've talked about the subject and how it has affected you. And at the end of the day, she's gotten to the point where she's like, why can't you love me sober? And she hopes that her leaving gets him into sobriety. And I feel like a lot of people out there really go through that. And I hope that this song is able to touch many people out there that are in this situation.
Yeah, Mackenzie, alcohol-related deaths and diseases are considered highly preventable, but of course that requires the individual to abstain from it. With alcohol still likely being most people's poison of choice when it comes to recreation, how do we turn that tide?
I think, as many people say, with any sort of substance issue, they say the first thing in recovery is admitting that you have a problem. And I mean, like you were mentioning, alcohol is a leading cause of death among so many different people, especially within the age demographic that I'm in. Between 20 and 39, men are actually 3 times more likely to die from alcohol abuse than women. And I mean, also, there's so many alcohol-related domestic abuse cases that happen worldwide. And I just feel people out there, if they are having an issue, that the first thing that they need to decide for themselves is, do I have a problem, and what can I do to help better myself and to get away from this? And I really hope that this song out there may speak to people that may be in that position where they may have a problem and it may be affecting everybody around them, and bettering themselves will make everybody else, including themselves, a much better and happier person.
Mackenzie, since this song is a personal song and also one that cuts really to the core of this very difficult issue, perhaps if you could quote us a particular line from the song that you really like and explain what it is you want listeners to know about what's going on in this story that they otherwise might not know if they hadn't heard your song.
Yeah, so one part in the song that really touched me when I wrote the song was in the second verse, and it was talking about she runs back into the bedroom packing up all her things. He says to her, "I love you and I promise you I can change." And I feel like a lot of people in relationships, especially, or in a family matter, whenever they struggle with abuse and addiction, they tell everybody the same story of, oh, I can do better. I'm going to change. This will be the last time and everything like that. But then they end up falling back into that repeating cycle. And I do feel like that song out there, with anybody struggling with alcohol issues, should know that there are so many different resources that they can reach out to, and there's plenty of places that you can go and try to better yourself.
Mackenzie, President Trump says that he's never had a drink in his life. That's primarily due to the death of his brother Fred to alcohol. So he thought he might have it in his genetics, so he just never touched it. How much do genetics play into alcoholism, and should people be more aware of their family history of this?
I have heard so many people talk about, whether they have family history of alcoholism or alcohol abuse and everything like that. And I mean, alcohol use disorder is a thing. I mean, in 2023, 10.2% of people starting at the age of 12 and older in the United States suffer from alcohol use disorder. And I mean, even 15.1% of young adults between 18 and 25 in the U.S. had alcohol use disorder. And I mean, it can affect all different kinds of people in any age, demographic, race, ethnicity, anything like that. And I do feel like that does play a factor with people and their personal choice that they see in their family history, and just people generations before them had issues and they decide, hey, I'm not going to mess with it. I don't want to end up repeating that cycle, and I'm going to start a new one. So I say kudos to people out there that they do look at that kind of stuff and they take it very seriously in their personal day-to-day life.
Mackenzie, you quoted this stat earlier, and I want to quote it again because I was really alarmed to find out that men are 3 times as likely to die of alcohol abuse. What do you attribute to this statistic? Do men run to alcohol more for recreational reasons? Is it stress? Is it anxiety? What are you finding? I mean, obviously, you know a lot about the statistics because you clearly did your research about this song and what went into it. What do you attribute that to?
I think just, me learning the facts, I did research and I just pulled information that I felt would be beneficial for people out there to know and learn more about with alcohol. And I think everybody, they may turn to it in whatever kind of degree. Some people, they may start out leisure and then it may just start developing into more of a habit thing. And you may have a drink on a Monday, and then you're like, oh, well, I can have another one on Tuesday, and then Tuesday leads to Wednesday. You have 2, and it just keeps going more and more and more, and then people start getting addicted to it, and they start relying on it more in their day-to-day life. And I mean, especially with men with their jobs, and I mean, even women as well, but with that statistic of being between 20 and 39, with men being 3 times more likely to die from it, I do feel that men may turn to it more on a stress manner because they go through so much during their day-to-day life. And I just feel people out there need to find different ways of coping with stress and dealing with anything that may be anxiety ridden in their life, and just turning to something that maybe not as less abrasive as going for a walk, or just sitting back and relaxing on the couch watching a show to get your mind off of it, or spending time with friends and family. And I mean, if you do feel like you're having issues in your life and that you may be turning down a bad road, you can always go to other resources. You can talk to friends and family about it. I just want people out there to know that there are solutions.
Yeah, there absolutely are. And, a lot of people usually use alcohol as a mask for their underlying problems, and it just makes the problems 10 times worse. Your song talks about this. It talks about the effects of alcohol abuse on everyone involved in a person's circle. It can truly ruin a perfectly healthy relationship. How does alcohol take over and just change people?
alcohol, it just affects people in so many different ways. I mean, you've heard everybody talk about, I'm sure everybody in their life has heard somebody be like, oh, I don't drink bourbon because it makes me mad, or I don't do vodka because I say things that I don't mean. And I feel like a lot of people out there, when they are in a difficult situation, they turn to alcohol to kind of numb the pain and to kind of numb their surroundings and any sort of stress that could be going on in their life. And that isn't always the answer. I mean, people out there, it's okay to maybe have a glass of wine to cut the edge some, but I mean, a lot of people out there, when they do start to have issues with alcohol, they start using it in excessive manners. And that's just not a good thing to do. And I really hope that this song is able to speak to people out there that may be in that situation, or they may be on the line of having an issue and starting to come to the realization of, hey, I need to do things different and I need to go down a better path in my life.
Yeah, Mackenzie, just real quickly, I remember you said that in your second verse, you talk about the guy saying, I can change, I can change. I'm sure a lot of people out there been on the other side of this have heard that line before. How do people really change, though? Because it seems to me they kind of have to hit a period of rock bottom to realize where they are. But how do people actually instigate that change? It seems like there has to be a mirror in front of them where they say, I'm no longer going to be this person anymore.
Yes, I even have personal friends of my own that they have gone through issues, and they always talk about, like you just mentioned, hitting rock bottom, your lowest of lows. Some people out there, they may run into the issues, especially going towards the more harder substances like drugs or something like that. They may take it to a level of almost overdosing, and they're like, oh my gosh, like I need help. I need to get this under control. And I mean, even with alcohol, it can lead to that. And I mean, people, they could be drinking themselves excessively and so much to the point where like they have no recollection of their days, they have no recollection of anything. And I do think it is a personal choice. At the end of the day, the person is going to have to admit to themselves that I have a problem. And I know that's what a lot of resource programs out there say, that is the first step in knowing that you're an addict and that you have to get your life sorted out, is admitting to yourself that I have a problem.
Absolutely.
And I know that's difficult for a lot of people out there because we don't want to see ourselves as having an issue. But I mean, unfortunately, that just happens.
Yeah, Mackenzie, thank you so much for bringing this important topic to light in your song, Love Me Sober. Thanks for being on Special Report.